warm reception both now and when I came in the door. But very first thing we want to do, as always, is thank our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. We want to thank Him for all the blessings He's given us in our life. And I'd also like to just take this moment and say thank God for state troopers. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking he's saying that because he's pro-law enforcement, and I am pro-law enforcement. But I have a more selfish reason for saying that. See, a state trooper drives me around everywhere. And a state trooper drove the 3.5 hours down here. So thank God for state troopers. So, what are we going to talk about tonight? Guys, I'm only going to talk to you about one thing tonight. This doesn't move, so I can't move. I'm dismayed. I have vertigo, and standing still sometimes is not very good for me. So if I move away from the microphone and you can't hear me, just raise your hand. So here it is. I want you to take a look around at what's going on in our nation right now. I want you to, first off, I want you to take a look back at what was going on when this guy was president. Remember that? Remember the low gas prices when he was president? Remember that raging economy? Everybody working? Small businesses firing on all cylinders, black unemployment, women's unemployment, Asian unemployment, all of it was the lowest we've ever seen it in the country. Everything was going great. Our enemies were shaking in their shoes and were quiet because they knew this is not Barack Obama I'm dealing with here. This is a street tough New York guy who will, let's just say, my hind end might be in a sling if I cross this guy the wrong way. And our friends, our allies, they like to say that we lost their respect. And here it is, quite frankly, I don't need your respect. I just need you to get out of my way so we can do what we need to do. Yeah. Amen. You don't want to respect me because I'm putting America first, that's your problem. Perhaps you should go back to your country and put your country first. So times were good. Times were great, as a matter of fact. Now, a lot of people were complaining. And why were they complaining? What were they saying? Yeah, I don't like this tone. I'm sure that somewhere on the battlefields of World War II, there was probably a German who did not like the tone of the Americans who were shooting at them. Pretty sure if you go back to Iwo Jima, there were some Japanese soldiers who were like, I don't like what these Americans are saying as they're shooting at us. Now, why do I say that? President Trump stepped into office during the middle of a bunch of chaos. A bunch of chaos where America was being degraded on the world stage and degraded right here at home. There was not time for nice talk. There was not time for measuring every word. This nation was in a crisis, and it was time somebody stood up and did something about it. Now, I don't know about you, but I'd much rather have those low gas prices back and have those jobs back and those businesses going and respect around the world and have a pullout from Afghanistan that didn't look like a total debacle than to have some nice flowery tweets. Give me the mean tweets any day. I'll take them. Plus, quite frankly, there are some people who need mean tweets. And so, now I want you to remember that good time. Now look at what we're dealing with now. Just over a year later, look at what we're dealing with now. First thing you need to look at the pipeline. Look at that pipeline. Very first thing I spell Joe Biden's name on the funny papers. The funny papers, guys, for reference. The funny papers is social media. That's what I call social media. On Facebook, I spell Joe Biden's name J-O apostrophe K apostrophe E. So just think about what old Joe did with the pipeline. Joe Biden shut down our pipeline, cut it off. Meanwhile, the Russian pipeline, he wouldn't stand in front of him. Made no moves to stop him, knowing that the Russians would use that pipeline to browbeat their European colleagues. But he made no moves to stop him. Then Joe Biden refused to shut down the southern border, and has refused to shut down the southern border. He put Kamala Harris in charge of that, but all she's done is laugh like someone who's been smoking marijuana. This lady, you can show you can show her a picture of a fiery plane crash. It's killed hundreds of people, and the first thing she'll do is go, And so he shuts down the pipeline, he opens up the border. Now, let's fast forward to this thing in Afghanistan. Fast forward to what happened in Afghanistan. They decide to leave Afghanistan and leave thousands of pieces of military equipment paid for by the United States taxpayers and left it in the hand of the Taliban. Now, you don't do something like that by mistake. That's not just a bad decision. I put it like this one time. How many times have you ever gone to a restaurant to eat and then left the restaurant and took off walking and left your car in the parking lot? Never. Now, honestly, Joe Biden might do that. If somebody wasn't there to say, Joe, you gotta get your car, he might do that. But that's exactly what they did in Afghanistan. Those weapons fell in the hands of the very people that our soldiers have been fighting for 20 years. And they have those weapons. And who else has them? Who's the first country to recognize the Taliban? China. That's right. Then you have all these other things in between. You have a general who actually calls the Chinese on the phone and says, if anything happens, we'll let you know. Look, let's don't even mince words. That guy should be in jail. He should be in jail. Now we had this other Marine in jail for something they said he shared information, did something, said too much. He's locked up in the brig, he's on lockdown. But the head guy in charge who called the Chinese and told them we'd give him a heads up, he's still walking around free. What is wrong with that picture? Now, I'm saying all that to say this. Look at the news media and how they spun this narrative. The Biden administration called the withdrawal from Afghanistan a great success. So we replaced the Taliban, the old Taliban, poorly armed Taliban, with the new, greater armed Taliban, and we call that a great success. You look at the way they talk about January 6th. January 6th was in the grand scheme of American history, January 6th was a minor blip on the radar. Now, see, I'm going to have to say this really slow so WRAL and Right Wing Watch can copy this down and get it just right. January 6th was a minor disturbance at the Capitol, and the only person who was killed was an unarmed white woman by a police officer. Now, I'm not supposed to say that. I'm supposed to say it was the greatest tragedy that ever happened in American history. But I'm not going to say that. And here's why. Because, again, it is about narratives. It is about narratives. And the narrative is that we are violent, racist, hateful, right-wing fearmongers who stormed the Capitol on January 6th and go down to the local school boards and threaten school board members. That is a lie. It is a lie. Do you want me to tell you where the violence exists? All summer long, this past summer, we watched cities literally burn to the ground. We watched Portland be overrun by Antifa. Whole city blocks taken over. Policemen blinded, policemen crippled, policemen shot, policemen murdered. Police stations taken over, federal buildings destroyed. And the news media and the Democrats called these people protesters. They label them as protesters. And in many cases, peaceful protesters. Meanwhile, January 6th is an insurgency. And anybody who doesn't say so is deemed a domestic terrorist. We watched in horror a few years back as a baseball game was shot up by a leftist. Steve Scalise and others were wounded. The news media didn't. Nobody called out the FBI on these folks and said we got to do something about this political violence. It was just a minor disturbance that happened where a few Republicans were shot. You see, folks, what it is it's two coordinated attacks. First coordinated attack is to control the narrative. January 6th is an insurgency. Portland, Oregon is just a protest for freedom and racial justice. Shooting up a baseball game and almost killing Steve Scalise, that was the actions of just one madman. But going down to the school board is worthy of merit, Garland merit, calling out the FBI on parents and trying to intimidate us, which leads to the next prong of this. You see, all this is about, folks, all of this. These narratives are driven to silence your voice. They want you to shut up, be quiet, or pay the cost. They want me to shut up, be quiet, and pay the cost. I wish my mom was alive so you could meet her. My mom would not shut up and would not be quiet to anyone. And her son is much like her. You see, I'm caught in a quasi-battle. I had listened to the radio today, and they said I was in a firestorm. Now, if I'm in a firestorm, I don't know nothing about it. I don't have a problem with anything that I said. And truth be told, I don't have a problem with the people who said I have a problem. Or who have a problem with what I said. I don't have a problem. Because here it is. I'm not going to back down. I'm not going to back down. I'm not going to do it. See, the news media's got this thing where they love to try to tell you when you say something that they disagree with. They want to bring you on their program, and they want you to stumble over your words and say, well, that's not really what I meant, though. What I actually meant was blah, 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 blah. No, I said what I said. I meant what I said. If you don't like it, I have some tissue here. You can find the corner of the room and go cry. When I stood in that church and I said that teaching children hypersexual adult situations is filth, that is exactly what I meant, because that is exactly what it is. And the parents and teachers and students that are tired of it and intend to do something about it, I am encouraging them to continue to speak up against it too. I don't care what Merrick Garland says. You can call the FBI all you want. The FBI, as we've seen in the last few years anyway, is completely inept. I don't fear them one bit. And I don't fear these attempts to try to intimidate me into silence. And I am encouraging you to be the same way. They want us to shut up, go home, and take what it is they're giving us. I guess they don't know anything about patriotic Americans. See, but there was a king one time. There was a king one time that expected us to shut up, take that Stamp Act. Shut up, take the T Act. Shut up and take what I'm giving you. You're going to pay off our war debt with your backs and your hard work. And no, you can't have any representation over here. You do what you do over there, and we'll reap the benefits. See, they didn't know the American spirit was already being born in this nation. Even before this nation was a nation, The American spirit was being born. That spirit of freedom, that spirit that desired independence was already being born. That spirit still exists. It still exists in this nation. The problem is, we have so many things that get in front of it. You know, we have our lives a lot of times that get in front of that spirit. We have our children that get in front of that spirit. We have our work that get in front of that spirit. But I think what we've seen over these last months, not just in this country, but in places like Australia and in places like France, we have seen what patriots have been screaming from the rafters for decades, for hundreds of years, and that is this: governments unchecked will become tyrannical. They will become tyrannical. It's not a question of if. An unchecked government will become tyrannical. What is the saying? Absolute power creates absolute corruption, whatever it is. I like it better the way I say it. Governments will become tyrannical. That's much easier to remember. But we've seen that. We saw it in the way Governor Cooper shut down small businesses in this state. We saw it in the way that he shut down churches in this state. We saw it in the way that he thumbed his nose at the Constitution in this state, at the Council of State in this state, at the legislature in this state. We've seen it in the way judges have thumbed their noses at 55% of North Carolinians who said they want voter ID to be the law of the land in this state. We have seen the way government can become tyrannical. The only thing that we have to fight tyranny is our courage and our voices and our unwillingness to be quiet. You know, when I was talking to these reporters today who were calling my phone, ringing my phone off the hook, wanting to ask me about a speech that I gave at church, why I said so-and-so, so-and-so, I'm thinking to myself, you know, I think these guys really think I'm afraid of them. They really think I'm afraid of them. They think that they're going to go out, they're going to spread a bunch of lies about me, and people are not going to vote for me, and and I'm not going to be this, or I'm not going to be that, or I'm not going to be able to run for governor, or I'm going to have to resign. Oh yeah, let's just take a break. Hold on. Time out. A right-wing watch, if you're in here, if you record, if you listen, I've got a message for your boy, Jeff Jackson. Hell no, I'm not resigning. Sit down, shut up, stay on the back row. Be quiet, I'm not resigning. Is that plain enough for you? Don't ask when I see you and don't tweet it anymore. It's not going to happen. Wiley Nickel, same goes for you, and all the rest of the back row crowd down there in our Raleigh. Just sit back there and be mad that I'm sitting up there on that dais. Because I'm not going anywhere unless the good Lord wants me to.
Amen.
So, we can't be silent anymore, folks. We can't. We can't sit back anymore and hope that somebody else is going to pick up the mantle and run out and do the work. We can't sit back and say, well, I'd like to get involved, but if I do, my neighbors might get mad at me. My family might get mad at me. My friends might get mad at me. Shake that. If I get seen with this person, they're going to say, oh, you're a right-wing nutcase. We can't do that anymore, folks. Our freedom is literally at hand. Look at what's coming down from the federal government right now. The federal government is actually thinking about doing ridiculous things like hiring another 100,000 IRS agents to come out and investigate why you spent $600 on so-and-so. Long time ago we had a problem in some places with IRS agents. I think they used to call them revenue men. Just a word of advice to anybody who's thinking about becoming a revenue man and coming to my house and asking me what I spent $600 on. I can show you if you'd like. I think that's as far as I'll take that. You get the gist of what I mean. Because here it is. I don't know about anybody else. Guys, I'm tired. I'm tired of it. tired of not being left alone. I'm tired of every time I turn around, I'm being bothered again. I'm tired of being told you got to wear a mask. You got to get a vaccine. I'm tired of being told. I'm tired of being told if you spend more than $600 at the bank, I'm going to investigate you. I'm tired of being told I'm going to put more taxes on you to pay for these social programs over here for the people who don't work. I'm tired of people telling me what my words are supposed to mean, telling me what I can say and what I can't say, telling me that I can't go to a school board meeting to say A, B, C, or D. I'm tired of people being in my face. I'm tired of Joe Biden telling me that I can't have an AR-15 while he gives ours to the Taliban. I'm tired of being called a domestic terrorist because I love the Second Amendment. Meanwhile, real domestic terrorists who tore down Silent Sam and who burned Raleigh and burned Greensboro and burned Winston-Salem and burned Portland, Oregon get a pass. In fact, they get bailed out by celebrities and politicians who agree with them. Meanwhile, you, the law-abiding citizen, you get browbeat. You get another 100,000 IRS agents to dig through your receipts to find out what you're doing in your life. I am tired of it, and I am not going to take it anymore. That is the reason why when these reporters called me today, I was unafraid to say what I said to them, because I'm sick of it. I'm sick of them, and I'm sick of their lies. I'm sick of these lies about global warming. Stop talking to me about climate change. I know the climate changes. It happens 4 times a year. It's called seasons. The same idiots who tell me in climate change, follow the science, follow the science, follow the science, are the same people who tell me there are no men and women. It's just how you feel. Well, I tell you what, since that's the case, you say the world's heating up, well, I feel like it's cooling down. So we don't have a problem, do we? It's all about feelings. I've literally reached my limit with these folks. I have. I've reached my limit. And because I've reached my limit, there is no limit on what I will say from now on. I'm going to stand up for the truth no matter who it offends, no matter who it hurts, no matter who it bothers. I don't care who it makes uncomfortable. It's time for some folks in this country to get uncomfortable. It's time for the people who are indoctrinating our children to get uncomfortable. Because here it is. We are sick of you and we are coming for you. Now, Garland Merrick, you write that one down. You tell the FBI I said that. You are going to move out of the way of our children's educational lives. You are going to move, or we will remove our children from these schools and no longer be a part of it. And we will leave these schoolhouses empty. We don't have to fire a shot. We don't have to throw a punch. The only thing we have to do is take our children and leave, because you're no longer serving them anyway. The most egregious part of education in this state right now is that we spend almost half of our budget on education, and our children can't read on a grade level. And some individual from WRAL is asking me about transgender issues as it pertains to education. That is not the problem. The problem is that we've taken transgenderism and CRT and trying to teach people about social justice and placed that in front of reading, writing, and arithmetic. And because of that, we are no longer serving our students in the capacity that we should. Guys, if I sound a little bit angry, it's because I'm angry. And you should be too. You should be angry in this country that we live in when things were going so good. Our economy was going so good. We had lost a life in 18 months in Afghanistan or Iraq. We had jobs galore. Unemployment was at its lowest that we've ever seen. And I'm convinced that those folks, those globalists, the Nancy Pelosi's, the Chuck Schumers, the communists, Amen. I ain't beating around the bush no more. These people are not Democrats. They're communists. They couldn't stand it and they had to do something about it. What did they do about it? They silenced our voices. They made it so we couldn't meet together because of COVID. And don't get me started on that one. You know, last time I checked, Roy Cooper is a lawyer, right? You know what he is by profession? I mean, right now he's an obstructionist. He's a leftist obstructionist who's masquerading as a governor. But in his life, he was a lawyer. Last time I checked, he's not a doctor. He's not anybody's doctor. The only person that should be giving you advice on whether or not you should get a shot in your arm is your doctor. Your doctor. Not anybody else's doctor. Your doctor. I'm not anti-vax. I'm not pro-vax. I'm pro-freedom. And I'm pro-freedom of medical choice. It's up to you whether or not you get that shot. So folks, we need to take a step back. We need to look at who we are. We need to look at where we've come in this country. We need to take a look back and look who it is that's laying in their graves right now that gave their lives so you could be where you are right now. I know there's a lot of them out there that did it for me. There's a lot of them out there that did it for you. We need to look back, and we need to look back and see what God has done in this nation, where he has brought us from, where he can take us to. We need to assess all of those things, and then we need to ask ourselves a question, whether or not we're ready to do what's necessary to move forward in this nation and save freedom for future generations. Are you ready? I know I am. You know, my favorite character, a lot of people got their favorite character in the Bible. People say, what's your favorite character in the Bible? I like Moses because he had that stick and he opened the Red Sea. I like David because he threw that stone, hit Goliath. Or I like the 3 Hebrew boys because they got thrown in that fire and get burned. And I love all those characters. You know what my favorite character in the Bible is? Does anybody know? Well, Jesus wasn't really a character. He was the ultimate goal. So real quick, nobody could beat Jesus. There was only one. But we can emulate all those other people to a high degree. My favorite person in the Bible is John the Baptist. Why is my favorite person John the Baptist? Because here it is. John the Baptist came to earth and was this weird guy in the woods screaming about Jesus coming. And everybody looked at him and said, this guy is nuts. And then John the Baptist baptized Jesus, and then of course he went on and he told a king the truth and was thrown in jail because of it. He told the biblical truth. He stood on biblical truth, told the truth, and was thrown in prison. And while he was in prison, he had his head cut off, put in a basket, and delivered to his enemies. Now I want you to let that faith sink in for you. You go to prison unjustly. You have your head cut off, put in a basket, and you have it delivered to your enemies. That does not sound like the movie of the week. That does not sound like a faith that any of us want to happen to us. But here it is. John the Baptist was called by Jesus Christ the greatest man ever born to a woman. He didn't give that to Moses. He didn't give it to David. He didn't give it to the 3 Hebrew boys. He gave that credit to John the Baptist. Why? Because John the Baptist did what he did, not for glory, not for self, but for the truth. He gave his life for the truth. And in the end, that's all that any of us can hope to do, is to stand for the truth. Speak up for the truth. You know, I love that saying when it says stand for the truth, even if you have to stand alone. That's what we should all be prepared to do. Because guys, this is serious. This is serious. And if you don't think it's serious, you haven't been paying attention. This country is about to be fundamentally transformed into a socialist nation. And the only thing that stands in front of it is this party and you. That's the only thing that stands in front of it. And we can't go into it with this ideology of thinking that all of a sudden everything is going to get better and nobody's going to get hurt and nobody's going to get wounded and that there's not going to be a battle and there's not going to have to be any sacrifices made. For us to sit in this room tonight, there had to be sacrifices made. Hell yeah. Arlington Cemetery is full of those sacrifices. Flanders Fields is full of those sacrifices. The beaches of Normandy are full of those sacrifices. Tonight, as you sit in those chairs and realize that the ultimate sacrifice of Jesus Christ is the reason why you are on your way to heaven, you also need to realize that the reason why we sit here in peace and prosperity is because somebody sacrificed for your freedom. It is time for us to be the ones that are willing to sacrifice. It is time for us to be the ones that are willing to take a stand. Guys, I'm willing to take a stand. I don't care what it costs me. I don't care if it costs me a trip to the governor's mansion. I don't care if it costs me the seat I'm sitting in now. I don't care if it costs me my head. I'm tired of these lies that are being told about this nation and the people in it. I'm tired of our children being abused. I'm tired of our veterans being mistreated. I'm tired of this nation and its history being besmirched by people who have sacrificed nothing for it. I am tired of it. And I'm willing to do whatever I need to do in order to make sure that freedom stands in this nation and that this nation stays the light of the world in this country. Because as it stands right now, this is the last great hope on earth. Right here. This is the last great hope. And the only hope within this nation is patriots like you. So I encourage all of you, don't be afraid anymore. Stand up. Be ready to fight. Be ready to sacrifice. Be willing to be like John the Baptist and tell the truth, no matter what it costs you. Because in the end, that's the thing that's really going to save us. The same courage and wisdom and steadfastness that built this nation and has preserved this nation is what will preserve it in the future. And that starts with you and me. So let's move forward and save this state and this nation and make sure that our grandkids grow up in freedom. God bless you all. God bless this county, and God bless the great state of North Carolina. Thank you very much.